The most dangerous man is the one who's silent. He doesn't chase, he doesn't beg, he doesn't post sad love quotes. He simply disappears into the shadows and builds himself. There's a reason why the most feared man in the room isn't the loud one. It's the silent one, and often he's single. Society tends to look at single men with suspicion. Why isn't he in a relationship? He must be emotionally damaged. He probably can't commit. But what if we told you? The longer a man remains single, the more refined, more powerful, and more self-governed he becomes. Because a man who chooses solitude doesn't just sit in loneliness. He sharpens his mind. He trains his body. He filters out the noise of modern dating and builds a fortress of focus. And when he walks into a room, he doesn't seek validation. He's not trying to impress. He's not desperate for female attention. He was the presence. This man isn't dangerous because he's toxic. He's dangerous because he's free. Free from emotional neediness. Free from societal timelines. Free from the fear of being alone. And that's exactly what makes him magnetic. While others waste years in meaningless relationships, he uses that time to become unshakable. This is not your average lonely guy scrolling dating apps at midnight. This is a man on a Stoic path. A path of control, clarity, and quiet power. So if you've ever wondered why some men emerge from their years of solitude as complete forces of nature, you're about to find out. Marcus, solitude isn't emptiness, it's preparation. A man who chooses to be alone is a man who refuses to be distracted. In today's world, being single is often seen as a sign of lacking. Lacking love, lacking intimacy, or worse, lacking worth. But the Stoic man knows better. He doesn't see solitude as punishment. He sees it as a season of power. Because when a man is single, not by accident, but by choice, he gains something most people never will. Time plus focus plus full control of his energy. No arguments, no fake smiles at forced dinners, no emotional roller coasters. Instead, he channels everything into building himself. He masters discipline. He chases wisdom. He becomes physically strong and mentally untouchable. While others chase external validation, he builds internal confidence that can't be taken away. He reads when others scroll. He works out when others sleep. He reflects when others argue. And slowly he becomes a man who doesn't need to prove himself, because his actions already do. In solitude, he doesn't become weaker. He becomes dangerously self-sufficient. Not bitter, not broken, but focused, calm, and harder to manipulate. That's why women who value true strength are drawn to these men. They don't seek attention. They command respect. Because while the world tries to tell men they need a relationship to feel complete, the Stoic man replies, I don't need someone to complete me. I complete myself. Arbitrary emotional mastery, his greatest weapon. A man who knows himself cannot be controlled by anyone else. The longer a man is single, the more time he has to study the world, and more importantly, himself. He begins to notice patterns, how people react when they're triggered, how emotions can cloud judgment, how attraction fades when built on insecurity. Most men never get this education. They jump from one relationship to the next, never facing their own demons. But the Stoic man, he turns solitude into a laboratory of the soul. He asks, why do I react this way? What triggers my anger? What do I truly want in a partner? Not just physically, but in values. This introspection leads to something powerful. Emotional mastery. He becomes the kind of man who can stay calm in chaos. He's not cold, he's composed. He doesn't get manipulated by sweet words or emotional drama. He sees through it, not with bitterness, but with clarity. And here's the paradox. The man who needs nothing emotionally is the man women want emotionally. Because he's rare, he's stable, he's grounded. He becomes a lighthouse in a world full of emotional waves. And that's why, when he does enter a relationship, it's not out of loneliness, but a wow, am I meant to. He doesn't seek comfort. He seeks pity truth. And a man like that, he's not just attractive, he's unforgettable, with the power of radical freedom. He who is not tied down moves the world. When a man stays single by choice, he experiences something most never will. Radical freedom. No emotional blackmail. No walking on eggshells. No compromising his values to keep the peace. He eats when he wants, trains when he wants, travels where he wants. But it goes deeper than just lifestyle. This freedom reshapes his identity. He doesn't live for others' expectations, not society's, not families, not a partner's. He lives by his own code. And that's dangerous in the best way. Because a man who owes nothing to approval becomes unshakable. He's harder to manipulate. He won't be guilt-tripped. He sees red flags from a mile away and walks away without hesitation. He's not desperate for connection, which makes any connection he does choose incredibly intentional. Most men are scared of this level of independence. They confuse being alone with being unloved. But Stoic psychology teaches otherwise. He who is free from attachments is free to love more purely. Not out of need, not out of fear, but out of a strength. Women sense this. They feel the difference between a man who needs them and a man who chooses them. And the second one, that man is unforgettable because he brings peace, not pressure, presence, not pretense, freedom, not fear. Selective standards. He chooses, he doesn't chase. The Stoic man doesn't ask, am I good enough for her? He asks, is she aligned with my values? Time alone sharpens a man's vision. He starts seeing what really matters in a partner. It's no longer about looks or surface level charm. It's about energy, integrity, emotional maturity. He's no longer impressed by validation, attention, or flirtation. He's looking for peace, not performance. The longer he's single, the sharper his standards become. He knows the cost of inviting the wrong energy into his life because he's been at peace and he refuses to give it up for drama. This makes him incredibly hard to impress. Not because he's arrogant, because he's awake. He's not interested in chasing. He's interested in choosing. There's a difference. Most men chase because they fear being alone. He chooses because he knows the strength of solitude. And women notice. They sense that this man won't tolerate games. He won't chase for attention. He won't fall for manipulation masked as affection. He makes her earn his presence, not with effort, but with authenticity, because he's already done the work on himself. He's built his peace, his body, his purpose. He doesn't need someone to complete him, just someone who respects him. And that's the paradox. The man who doesn't chase is the one women start chasing, not because he's playing games, but because he's grounded. He's the rare one. And in a world of desperate boys pretending to be men, he stands out by standing still. Arrogant and purpose-driven, he becomes unstoppable. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. When a man is single long enough, something incredible happens. He either breaks interim or he builds. The ones who break chase distractions, parties, hookups, validation. But the ones who build, they become dangerously focused. They redirect all the energy that might have gone into relationships into becoming someone of substance. He starts training harder, thinking deeper, reading more, sleeping less, dreaming bigger. He becomes obsessed, not with women, but with right purpose. And that obsession makes him magnetic. He's no longer floating, hoping to be saved by love. He's now marching, guided by a mission bigger than himself. While others waste time proving they're desirable, he builds value that makes him undeniable. Women notice this shift. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. This man moves differently. He speaks with certainty. He walks with intention. He doesn't beg for time. He owns it. That's why he becomes dangerous. Not to others, but to the system that relies on weak men. The system wants him soft, distracted, emotionally dependent, but he's hard to manipulate because he doesn't fear being alone. Why? Because he's full? Not full of himself, full of direction, full of growth, full of inner power. He's the man who won't trade peace for popularity, and that makes him rare. That makes him respected. He's not playing the game anymore. He's building a whole new arena. Stoic wisdom, the true strength of the modern man. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Being single isn't a flaw or a failure. It's a challenge. Test from life. The Stoics teach us to embrace challenges, to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. When a man stands alone, he is forced to face his inner world. He confronts fears, doubts, and insecurities. And through this confrontation, he discovers his true value. Not from others, but from within. This inner strength is the foundation of real confidence. It's the calm in the storm, the quiet power that needs no validation. A modern man's worth isn't measured by relationships, but by how well he masters himself. Because a man who controls his mind, his desires, and his emotions, that man is unstoppable. He doesn't seek to fill a void with someone else's presence. He is complete on his own. And here's the paradox. When you become whole alone, you become irresistibly attractive to others. That's the essence of Stoicism applied to love and life. Master yourself and the world will follow. And the Stoic man, built in solitude, unleashed in the world. A man is not truly strong until he learns to stand alone, with clarity, with conviction, with calm. Being single doesn't mean being lonely. It means you're in the forge. The time you spend alone isn't a punishment, it's preparation. While others are lost in noise and distraction, you've chosen to face the silence, to meet the only person who will always be with you. Yourself. And in that space, something sacred happens. You stop chasing validation. You start building value. You stop begging to be chosen. You become the one who chooses. That's what Stoicism is all about. It's not coldness. It's clarity. It's not rejecting emotion. It's mastering it. Because the man who rules himself will never be ruled by anyone else. And that's what makes you dangerous. Not because you're cruel, but because you can walk away. Because your happiness is not on sale. Because your peace was just too expensive to rent. So to every man watching this, if you're single, don't rush. Don't settle. Don't doubt. Use this time to build, to heal, to become so aligned with your purpose that the right woman will either rise to meet you or get out of your way. Because a stoic man doesn't chase love. He attracts it effortlessly by becoming whole. Now it's your turn. If this message hit deep, share it with a brother who needs it. Hit subscribe to join a community of men on the same path. And remember, you weren't born to beg for love. You were born to become the kind of man love respects.